Welcome to What Would You Choose? Your daily dose of fun choices. Fox versus wolf. Which one is smaller? The answer is fox. Steam train versus bullet train. Which one is faster? The answer is bullet train. Lemon versus melon. Which one is sour? The answer is lemon. Swan versus sparrow. Which one is larger? The answer is swan. Minivan versus bicycle. Which one has more wheels? The answer is minivan. Beluga whale versus goldfish. Which one is smaller? The answer is goldfish. Easter Island versus Seychelles. Which one has giant stone statues? The answer is Easter Island. Tomato versus mango. Which one is usually used in salads? The answer is tomato. Rattlesnake versus tortoise. Which one is a reptile? The answer is rattlesnake. Sports car versus tractor. Which one is faster? The answer is sports car. Alpaca versus sheep. Which one produces softer wool? The answer is alpaca. Panda versus raccoon. Which one eats mainly bamboo? The answer is panda. Eggplant versus potato. Which one is purple? The answer is eggplant. Kayak versus ferry. Which one is smaller? The answer is kayak. Hummingbird versus eagle. Which one can hover in place? The answer is hummingbird. Mount Vesuvius versus Rockies. Which one is a volcano? The answer is Mount Vesuvius. Pretzel versus croissant. Which one is usually twisted? The answer is pretzel. Bat versus robin. Which one is a mammal? The answer is bat. Sailboat versus cruise ship. Which one uses wind power? The answer is sailboat. Green apple versus banana. Which one is more sour? The answer is green apple. Squid versus clownfish. Which one has tentacles? The answer is squid. Galapagos Islands versus Gobi Desert. Which one is in the Pacific Ocean? The answer is Galapagos Islands. Sandwich versus burrito. Which one is usually wrapped? The answer is burrito. Ibex versus elk. Which one is known for climbing steep cliffs? The answer is ibex. Drone versus airplane. Which one is remote controlled? The answer is drone. Cranberry versus grape. Which one is more tart? The answer is cranberry. Leatherback turtle versus alligator. Which one has flippers? The answer is leatherback turtle. SUV versus Formula One car. Which one is better for rough roads? The answer is SUV. Barn owl versus swan. Which one is nocturnal? The answer is barn owl. Honeycomb versus chocolate bar. Which one is made by bees? The answer is honeycomb. Donkey versus zebra. Which one has stripes? The answer is zebra. Death Valley versus Maldives. Which one is one of the hottest places on Earth? The answer is Death Valley. Kiwi versus pineapple. Which one is fuzzy on the outside? The answer is kiwi. Orca versus sardine. Which one is bigger? The answer is orca. Freight train versus delivery truck. Which one runs on tracks? The answer is freight train. Lobster versus cod. Which one has claws? The answer is lobster. Carrot versus corn. Which one grows underground? The answer is carrot. Macaw versus penguin. Which one can fly? The answer is macaw. Andes versus Bahamas. Which one is a mountain range? The answer is Andes. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe Seendal Kids for more Would You Rather quizzes like that.